Support for Docs Outside the Box comes from Set for Life Insurance. Set for Life means set for less. Their clients get access to the largest portfolio of discounts and unisex rates available nationwide. Check them out at setforlifeinsurance.com and tell them Dr. Darko sent you.
2 weeks later, we had national championship. At this point, it doesn't matter how I do because I'm already not making the Olympic team. But I already paid for my flight. I already paid for my hotel. I'm like, listen, just go. Those 2 weeks between were terrible. I was not fencing. I didn't want to look at fencing. I didn't want to think about fencing. I was so crushed because I told everyone that I was hoping to go to the Olympics and I didn't make the team.
Welcome to Docs Outside the Box podcast. This is your official show, looking inside the minds of cutting-edge and innovative doctors. Think you'll find these stories in any medical textbook? Sorry. You're getting real-life insight from men and women pushing the envelope beyond medicine. Ordinary doctors doing extraordinary things. Let's start now with your host, Dr. Darko.
Hey, docs. Are you looking to learn how to become a physician leader? Then Physician CEO is for you. Physician CEO is an accelerated business immersion program designed for physicians and developed by MBA faculty from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. So learn more at www.physician-ceo.com/DOTB. What's good? What's up? Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Docs Outside the Box. Really excited about this episode. I am your host, Dr. Darko. And quickly before we get into our next episode, I just want to say thank you all for reaching out to me to wish me a happy birthday, happy 40th birthday, as I released on episode or update 4.0, which is short for 40. You know, I'm hitting this huge new milestone in my life. I feel like I'm hitting my stride, you know, as a man, and just wanted to share that with you, that some of the mistakes that I've made. And, you know, I hope you all really got a little glimpse into what my life is like and what it's like to go from having a passion project to really nurturing it and what it takes to go really hard. And, you know, I just wanted to let you all know about the sacrifices that I've made. So for those who are wondering if I'm able to keep up with some of the changes that I made in my life, such as smelling the roses, as well as making a workout routine. Yes, I have been able to keep up with that. So we're talking about a couple of weeks into this now, and it's really helped me out with, you know, just feeling a little bit more limber and feeling like I'm taking care of myself and also not going so hard all the time. So once again, thank you again. So on the topic of going so hard, as you all know, when I end my show, I end with the phrase, "We only got one life, let's make it count and live outside the box." That really drives home the importance, at least how I feel, about living each day to the fullest. And that includes being happy as well as not being overstressed. Now, my colleague, Dr. Suja Jankuddy, she has a brand new and complimentary online event for you all to learn, for you all to take action towards being not only a happy medical professional, but a more fulfilled medical professional. And I'm actually really happy to say that I'm one of the 21 plus professionals that she's going to be featuring in her virtual summit. I'm really excited to be a part of this. And the name of the event is called The Freedom Formula for Healthcare Professionals. And it's concrete steps to release the overwhelm and create the freedom you crave. Now, this event's going to be going on from October 22nd to November 1st. And just in time for this show's release, I'm going to be up in a couple of days on October 31st. So make sure you listen, all right? Because there's a free gift to those who listen, okay? The links to this event, to sign up for this event, are going to be in the show notes. I am really excited about my next guest. On this episode, my guest is Student Doctor Kamali Thompson, and she is a fourth-year medical student at the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School in New Jersey. Now, as you all know, I don't regularly feature medical students, but just like Dr. Wendell Cole, who was 10 or 15 episodes ago, I can't remember, she is very, very impressive. I got her on the show to share her story on how she handles the craziness, the stress of medical school, and is able to balance that while being an amazing athlete. Now, she's not just an amazing athlete. I'm talking about her trying to make the Olympics as a fencer, y'all. I'm dead serious. Now, Kamali, she got started with fencing pretty late in comparison to what other amazing fencers get started. But with hard work, with persistence, as well as people believing in her, she's been able to be successful not just in high school, not just in college, but now she's a U.S. national champion. She also competes for Team USA internationally on the regular. Kamali is on this show. She's going to be sharing her journey from growing up in Teaneck, New Jersey, to competing as far away as South Korea. Now, I really enjoyed this episode because, of course, with all of my guests, she kept it 100, but I really admire her persistence as well as her ability to not let fear hold her back. So quickly, some quick things that you're going to learn on this episode. You're going to hear about how she got introduced to fencing as a sport. You're going to understand why it's very important to have role models. And of course, with all of my guests, you're going to hear how she answers hashtag I'm not just a doc. Also, please make sure you check the show notes. There is a music video that she's featured in. There's an artist named Jay Swiss who did a music video. The name of the song is called Dedicate Love Something. Music is knocking. The lyrics are great, but she's also featured in there. So make sure you click on the YouTube link to see all of that. Also, be sure to subscribe to this podcast to get more great episodes like this one. And please, as always, share this episode with someone who you know will benefit from this. And without further ado, I present Student Doctor Kamali Thompson. Dr. Kamali Thompson, welcome to Docs Outside the Box.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Really excited to get you on the show to talk about all the different things that you are into. I know you're really busy, so thank you again for taking the time out to be on the show. We got a lot to talk about.
We sure do.
So look, before we get so much into the meat and potatoes, the nitty gritty of this show, let's take a step back. Let's go back to high school, even 8th grade, 7th grade. Tell us a little bit about young Kamali Thompson, what it was like growing up in Jersey, all of that.
So I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey. 8th grade, I was a dancer, trying to find out my next move in high school, how I was going to graduate from nerd status to a little bit cooler than that. I went to an open house, and I was on the way to the dance room with my mom. We walked past the cafeteria, and there were fencing inside. And my mom stopped inside, and she was basically like, what's this? What's going on? The coach, who was a really, really awesome African-American woman, started talking to my mom. They hit it up right away.
Well, that's a rarity right there, right?
Oh, it is. It is. So I think that's part of the reason the conversation lasted so long. But after they were done speaking, my mom told me I was going to fence in the fall in high school.
So why did she decide that fencing was for you?
My mom told the coach that I was a dancer. There's a lot of footwork involved in fencing. You have to be light on your feet. You have to move really quickly. And the coach was like, oh, you're a dancer? That means you'd be great to move on this trip here. Little did we know that my coach in high school, her daughter was on the junior, which is under 20 national team. And in 2012, she actually won an Olympic medal. So she knew what she was talking about.
Really?
I didn't really know all that at the time.
So what about like medicine? Did you have any thoughts of medicine at all, that you wanted to be a doctor in the near future sometime, or?
Oh, 100%. I wanted to be a doctor since I was maybe 4 or 5. I think every person wants to be a doctor, but I actually stuck with it. So science was always my best subject. I didn't care about history. I didn't care about English. I didn't really care about math, but you have to be good in math to be a bio major. But I love pediatricians. When I went there, I love getting shots. And I was just like... Wait.
Hold on a second. Nobody likes geting shots. What do you mean you like getting shots?
When we get the required PPD test every year, I'm waiting for that book. I'm like, this is awesome.
We have to get you checked out, yo. Really?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, the shots, the lollipops, the checkups, everything about it, I was just like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do when I'm there.
So you knew, okay, so fencing, when she's telling you, okay, you're going to end up fencing, you know, we don't really see that stuff growing up, not from a racial standpoint, but I'm just talking about just in general. Like fencing is not on TV. Like you don't see it on ESPN. You know, it's just kind of one of those things you just hear people say on guard all the time, right?
Right, yes.
Like put that together, because I'm sure you're like, I want to dance. Like, no. Like, did you give any pushback to your mom? It's like, no.
100%.
Like,
so my mom's a lawyer. Well, my mom at the time was an attorney. Now she's a judge. So pushback it's not going to do anything.
So she was like, Claire Huxtable, let the record show.
100%. So Claire Huxtable was a little bit nicer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A little bit nicer. My mom, she's very tough, and she's short. She's a short, tough woman. And what she says goes. So I didn't really want to fence. I'm sure what you think of high school fencer, nerdy, unathletic, like those are the majority of people on my team. But we also had some really cool people who were athletic, who were smart, who were really awesome to be around on the team as well. So the team actually ended up being really cool.
Okay. All right. So this is what, 8th grade or 9th grade you are starting to fence now?
9th grade, I'm going to practice. It's October, November. That's when I started.
So Teaneck has a fencing school?
Surprisingly, yes. So usually New Jersey has a ridiculous amount of fencing in their high school. I don't know why, but most of them are richer or private schools or schools that are in wealthier districts. So Teaneck having a fencing team is pretty absurd.
Yeah, just the point of me being able to add something. I went to a high school that had a pretty good fencing team also. And what I noticed is the majority of them, if they wanted to take things to the next level, they would always get on the PATH train or they would always go on a New Jersey Transit and go to the middle of New York City and go like fence in these clubs. So when did you start getting involved with going to New York City to fence?
So I started fencing at my club, the Peter Westbrook Foundation, my junior year of high school. Freshman and sophomore year, I had no idea basically what you just said. I didn't know that there were fencing clubs. I didn't know that people took private lessons with their coaches. I didn't know any of that stuff. So my sophomore year, basically I was losing all the time and I was over it. So I was just thinking, well, what's the next step? How do I get better? And it was either go to a club in New Jersey, which would require my mom to drive me, which she couldn't do. She was a single mom. She didn't have time to take off work. Or go to New York City, which also seemed pretty impossible because I had never really been to the city before.
But you right across. I mean, Teaneck is literally right next to the George Washington Bridge.
I know.
You probably could see it from your window.
You know, I feel like people in suburbs are so sheltered. Maybe you go to Times Square in the weekend with your parents every once in a while, but like as a 14-year-old kid, you're not hopping on the bus on a Tuesday night to go to practice. Like that's just not a normal thing that people Teaneck do. So my coach told me that there was a place called the Peter Westbrook Foundation that was founded by an African-American man with a 6-time Olympian, and there were other African-Americans, and I was just like, oh, there's no way, I gotta check this out. The beginning of my junior year, my mom took me on the bus, and at the time, there were 2 or 3 people who went to the Peter Westbrook Foundation that had been in commercials. So we got there, my mom was like, oh, that was the person in the soy milk commercial, that was the person in the Gatorade commercial, and I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. A room full of successful Black people who were celebrities.
So that had to be, I mean, that had to feel great, right? Because once you see something when you look like someone or you can identify with someone, it makes it that much more attainable, I think. And I'm glad that you're talking about that and you're speaking about that because that's, in essence, the whole thing of why Docs Outside the Box came out is that if more doctors can see other doctors doing something very similar and doing things outside of medicine, that maybe they think it's just as attainable. So I love that you were sharing that. So keep it going. I'm not bad for interrupting you.
No, it's okay. So the way it works is there's a Saturday morning program, and when you get good enough, you get invited to join the Fencers Club and then practice during the week. I didn't know any of that stuff at the time. So I show up to the foundation Saturday morning. The funny story about me is I assumed that the first day would be like the introduction day. Like, come, like this is our schedule. So I have on jeans. Jeans. And like, my mom yelled at me. She's like, put on some sweatpants. I was like, Mom, we're not going to be working out the first day. So I show up in jeans, and Peter is the craziest guy ever, but he gives his speech. He has such a big personality. He gives his speech, and then he like yells at everyone. He's like, everyone break off in your weapons. Saber over there, foil over there, epee over there. So I run right back to my mom, like, I'm not fencing today, I have on jeans. And she was like, nope, you want
I told you, yep.
Go over there to that Saber class. So I was like, oh man. So at the time, the Saber class consisted of maybe 8 or 9 people that were my age. Most of them were from New Jersey and they were all winning states. And I was like, oh my God, this is where so-and-so goes. This is where so-and-so goes. This is where so-and-so goes. Then there are about 10 other people in college. And these are like cool Brooklyn type people, you know? So I'm over here, this little girl from Teaneck with jeans on. And I'm like, I'm supposed to fence in front of you guys. So if you're a new person, Peter like points you out. He goes, you, sister over there, come up here and fence. And he makes you fence people. And if you beat them, then he gives you harder and harder people to fence. So I fenced the first 3 girls. I beat all of them. Yeah, and then he calls everyone over. He's like, look at this girlfriend. Look at this girlfriend. And then this guy was like, oh, I seen her. She goes to Teaneck. And I was like, oh my God, you guys know who I am. That's crazy. Anyway, I lost. But that whole scene just opened up my eyes, and I had no idea fencing was so big. It could take me so far. And after that, Peter pulled my mom over to the side, and he was saying, "Hey, listen, if you want to get good at fencing, work out with one of our coaches on Saturdays. If you get better, then you can come 4 or 5 times a week." And I was like, 5 times a week? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's not a long train ride, but that's like finishing school and then getting on a train and then coming back late, getting home like at 11 o'clock midnight probably.
Agreed. Yeah. So by 6 months in, I was doing 4 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was a lot, but I was so focused in school, I was able to be able to study after I came home from practice.
Did your eyes sometimes, because the prize was becoming a physician for you, did you ever lose track of that and say, hey, look, I think I could really, really be good with this fencing thing. Maybe medicine is not for me. Maybe I should really focus 100%. Or did you always know? Like,
for me, I never saw a direct competition between fencing and medicine because honestly, I wasn't that good at the time. So a lot of people my age start fencing around 8 or 9. So by the time they start high school, they're traveling to World Cups. They're traveling all over the world at 12, 13, 14 years old. So when they're juniors in high school, maybe they would have that thought because they're so good, they might want to be professional fencers. I was not on that level.
Got you. Okay.
It was just for me, like, if you keep doing well, you can get a scholarship to college, and then let's just stay on that path.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. So you get to college, you're at Temple.
So my interesting part of going to college was my junior year. My mom went to Spelman, my dad went to Morehouse. So I was definitely going to go to Spelman. Like, I was going to go to Spelman. I was going to be a flag twirler. I was going to be in the marching band. Like, that had been my plan beforehand. But HBCUs don't have fencing programs. So now what are we going to do? I never really thought about going to an Ivy League school because I didn't feel like I needed to go to Harvard to be really smart. But all the Ivies fence now. So now, like, am I going to go to Ivy? Do I want to go to a state school like Penn State, Ohio State? Those are kind of out for me. I just didn't have any idea. But Temple, the coach came to me and said, if you come here, you'll start fencing. And because I had such limited experience, I had to take that into consideration because at all the Ivies, I wasn't going to fence. I was a nobody.
So even with all the private coaching that you're getting, going to the Peter Westbrook Foundation, getting this extra coaching, you still felt at this point that you were, quote unquote, a nobody at this point? Like,
yeah, so fencing is interesting. Basically, you have to be in the sport for years before you can even show some sort of consistency, right? So in fencing, if you train hard for a year, maybe 2 years, you can definitely have one good result. But we have 5 national competitions a year. We have 8 World Cups a year. So maybe I did well at one national competition, but everyone my age was winning World Cups. So that's a difference in level right there.
Okay, so then let me ask you this then. How did you maintain the motivation to keep going with fencing? Like, why didn't you just say, okay, well, you know what, this is just going to be a hobby. Maybe I'll do club fencing. I don't know if that's even intramural fencing. I don't know if that's even available. Why did you decide to keep going like NCAA Division I? Like, this is what I'm going to keep doing.
That's a good question. I think because at the Peter Westbrook Foundation, everyone's so accomplished. So you're kind of nobody if you're not on a national team. Everyone's been on a national team. Everyone's at least, gotten a medal at a World Cup. So I had never even been to a World Cup. So the possibilities were almost endless, and I felt like I couldn't stop fencing before I could even travel the world and see how good I would do on that stage.
Okay. So once you get to Temple, you get on a team, you're playing there or you're fencing there. What was that experience like now managing fencing with, I'm going to assume you were pre-med at the time? What was that like?
So honestly, it was dope. Because when you're an athlete, even if you're a fencer, like, you're still an athlete. I got all these perks. I get all this free stuff. I'm hanging out with all the athletes. And my normie, we call them normies. My normie friends are everybody is. At sometimes, honestly, it was really rough because I have class all day, practice at 3 to 6, have dinner, and then from 7 to 12, I'm studying because I haven't been studying. Meanwhile, my roommate is done at 7, so she has all the friends over, all of our friends over. So it was really difficult. My freshman year, I remember right in the middle, I called my mom, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I making life so much harder? And everyone's at parties, and I'm sitting here. My mom was like, trust me, it'll all be worth it. And she kept saying that. And I was like, you're so annoying. It's not worth it. It's going to be fun. But once the season started, I started doing really well compared to my teammates who had all this experience. We were fencing my year. We had an Olympic medalist who we had to fence against. We had 3 national team members who we had to fence against. And I was really close to beating most of them. So that was when things started feeling worth it. Like I was doing well in fencing. My grades were really good compared to everybody else. And that's when I finally got the satisfaction.
Okay. All right. So any NCAA, I think you had some success in college, right? You made it to the NCAAs?
I did. So I went to NCAAs all 4 times. And for me, that's a big deal because you make it to NCAA based on your region. 24 fencers country go. In our region, only 5 people qualify.
So that's a really select, list. I mean, and if you're in that area, you're in Philadelphia, UPenn is in that region, right?
Penn State's a really strong team. UPenn, Princeton, both those Ivies had really strong people. And Duke is where the Olympic medalists went. So they were in the region as well.
So you're holding your own against them. You're like, wow, I can hang.
Exactly. I was like, this is pretty awesome. So I went to NCAAs all 4 times. And I was All-American my last year in college.
Wow, wonderful. So let's talk about the whole trying to get into medical school now. Like, what was that like, trying to get into medical school?
That was rough. So, I mean, for everybody, junior year, nothing but studying for the MCAT. And my junior year actually was my first year traveling internationally. I did really well. To make the national team, you have to be top 4. I ended up being 6th. So I didn't make it. I was crushed. But at the same time, it was my first year doing this. And all these girls, like I said, had years of experience. But I'm also studying for the MCAT. My first time I ever got a C, I got a C+ in physics. And then had a C+ in physics, and it crushed me. So I'm applying to med school, and I'm freaking out now because I was doing so well. That C, like you can't have a C for med school. My advisor told me that I should think about doing a postgrad program.
Just because of that C+?
Just in general, I don't remember what let's say the average is a 3.5. I think I had like a 3.3 or something like that. So it wasn't ridiculously lower, but it just wasn't the average.
Gotcha.
And I kept telling my advisor, I was like, I know what you're saying, but I'm much more than these grades. Like everyone else is studying for the MCAT. I'm traveling the world. I'm the team captain now. I'm in 3 other organizations. Like I have enough activities. I was doing research. I was like, I'm good enough to get into med school. And she was like, I think you need a plan B. Anyway, I applied to 18 schools like everybody else, and I got interviews at 7 schools, and then I picked Robert Wood Johnson.
And that's where you are right now.
That's where I am right now.
As a 4th year. So you already got your MBA already, right?
Yes. So my first year of med school was the first year I was traveling on the senior circuit. So my junior year of college is when I was doing junior World Cups, which is under 20. My first year of med school, I was doing senior. So that's like all the Olympians, we're not playing games anymore. This is like the big girl arena. So I did that for 2 years. I was doing pretty well, but the Olympics were coming up for 2016. And I couldn't go to 3rd year the year before the Olympics. Like, there's just no way. 3rd year, you have to be serious. You can't just ask them to go to Europe for a weekend. You just can't.
This is 3rd year medical school.
Yeah. Well, 2nd year medical school.
2nd year medical school.
Should I go to 3rd year or should I do something else? I thought about getting a job, but where am I going to get a job? Also, if you're not in school, you have loans to pay off. So I decided to go get another degree. And I've always been interested in business because I feel like business is something everyone needs to really understand. So I applied to our dual degree program and I got in.
What was that like? What was that transition, focusing on the business aspect of medicine as opposed to like the anatomy and the clinical side? What was that like?
So business school was amazing. I highly recommend it for anyone who's thinking about it. I think that more people in the medical world need to have a business mindset of how can we make this the most efficient. And I think that would eliminate a lot of the issues that we're having in healthcare. Learning about things like insurance, supply and demand in medicine, all those topics are so important. Big pharma, that's a huge thing that we need to know about. We don't know about any of that stuff in med school. We're just talking about, pathology and stuff like that.
Which has its place, but like you said, I agree. Like, you need a much broader experience with the financial, with the, with the money side of medicine also, I think.
Right. And I think originally I went there because I was still in my primary care mode. I thought I wanted to either have my own practice or have a group practice. So I just wanted to know how to run. So accounting, I took a class called How to Buy and Run a Business. That's where I was thinking And then once I got to business school, I realized, or I learned, I should say, like how to actually make money and how I can make it for myself. It was super important because I was fencing and I have all these loans and I'm not making any money. So the thought now, it kind of shifted from buying a business later to making money right now.
So give me an example. What kind of things were you thinking about at that time then?
So for me, I'm trying to be smart. So how can I use less loans? How can I leverage this whole fencing medical thing to get someone to give me money for it?
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So instead of taking out let's say I use $500 in loans a month, like on extra stuff, groceries, utilities. How can I make $500? What can I do? I know how to fence. Let me go to other clubs and offer clinics. And I can charge, like, I can do 12 clubs a year. Like, I can make $500 doing that once a month. I can tutor. I can have clinics for fencers on how to get into either college or how to get into medical school. And then I can charge X amount of money for that. So business school taught me how to brand myself and taught me how to become a little more famous in the fencing world and make money at the same time.
I love it. Yeah, I felt the same way. Well, I didn't think that I could be famous when I was doing my MBA, but it helped me change my mindset from just wanting to like open up a clinic when I first started to, man, like I really can do some other things from a business standpoint with medicine. So I definitely feel you on that one. So let me ask you a question because, you go from medical school to business school and you're still fencing. Like you said, you're traveling. What is that like? What did you find the hardest thing? Did you find the hardest thing being balanced? Was it harder, training for fencing? Was it harder being in med school? You're trying to, like they say, you're drinking from a fire hydrant. Like, let's talk about all that stuff.
It was very difficult. At the time, my first and second year of med school, I averaged 3 hours or 4 hours of sleep a night. And now I look at that and I'm like, that's insane. But at the time, I was like, I have to do this. I woke up for the gym at 6. I left the gym at around 7:30 to get ready for a lecture around 9. Lecture from 9 to 12. I studied from 12 to 3, ran to the train, got to practice by 5, then from 5 to 8, ran for the train, got home around 10, studied from 10 to 2, 3 o'clock, and did it all over again.
Wow. That's hustle. And that's a grind.
It is. And at the time, I was just like, this is what I have to do. But now that I'm removed from that, I'm just like, you're crazy.
Did you break down at all? Did you have any like moments where you're like, yo, I can't do this?
The only times I did was if I didn't do well. So if I went to a competition and I lost my first or second bout, I was just like, how are you doing so poorly when you're putting in so much work? Schools, certain blocks didn't go as well for me as others. So then I felt the same thing. It wasn't during the time when it was difficult for me. It was if the result wasn't where I wanted to be, that was really difficult for me.
So any ultimatum moments where, look, you're like, one thing's got to go? You ever had that moment?
Yes, but I learned how to shift with that. So at my med school, we have block schedules of 6 weeks you do GI, then the next 6 weeks are neuro, then the next 6 weeks are cardio, et cetera, et cetera. So I knew that the first week I just had to be on top of that. Usually just the way the schedule worked, maybe the third week I had a competition. So that whole week, I don't really care about school. I'm just going hard to practice. Go to my competition, come back, no more fencing this week. Now I got to make up for last week and I got to study for this week. That's kind of how that cycle worked.
Now, obviously, you're doing something right because you're continuing to move on. You're a 4th year now, getting ready to start thinking about an orthopedic surgery residency. Mm-hmm. And then also from that standpoint, you go right across to what you're doing from a fencing standpoint. You became a national champion.
I did. That was very exciting.
Like, that's a big effing deal, yo. Like, that's a real big deal. So let's talk about that. Tell us exactly what you're a national champion. I don't want to spoil the story. I want you to tell us all and tell us through that moment of what it was like to become a champion. Like, take us through all that.
So I became a national champion the year of the Olympics. The way you qualify for the Olympics, you have 4 national competitions that count. You have 8 international competitions that count. Based on how you do, you get a certain number of points, and then you add up all those points, and then at the end of the year, whoever top 4 is makes the national team. So nationally, I was doing great. I came in 2nd a bunch of times. I came in 3rd a bunch of times. Internationally, I was not doing well. I mean, I'm fencing the best people in the world, and these girls are hungry. These girls are paying their rent. They're supporting their families off fencing. I'm, not at that level yet, but I'm just trying to win my bout. So it's very difficult. The last World Cup came up in Korea, and there were numbers 4 through 9 where any of us did really well, we would have made the team. So there's 5 of us, and one by one we lose, but everyone's losing. So I'm looking around like, okay, so-and-so's out, so-and-so's out. If I just keep winning, I'm going to make the Olympic team. So now it's me and one other girl. We both fenced one belt, we both won. Now we're both fencing at the same time. She lost, but then I lost too. She was higher than me. So that meant I wasn't making the Olympics. So I sat back on this plane ride from Korea, 12 hours, crying the whole time. 2 weeks later, we had national championships. At this point, it doesn't matter how I do because I'm already not making the Olympic team. But I already paid for my flight. I already paid for my hotel. I'm like, listen, just go. Those 2 weeks between were terrible. I was not fencing. I didn't want to look at fencing. I didn't want to think about fencing. I was so crushed because I told everyone that I was hoping to go to the Olympics, but I didn't make the team. So I get to the competition. I've never even been this much of a funk. I was just like, I do not want to be here. But midway through my warm-up, I was like, listen, nobody cares how you do. And the best you've ever done is second. Like, what if you win today? Like, why not? So I just started winning my bouts. I was winning my bouts, and I was just like, oh, this is amazing. I got to the final bout, and when you have nationals, you have this fancy podium strip where everyone fences, everyone's watching you. I'm fencing this girl who I'm pretty familiar with, and I'm beating her 8-3. And I'm like, wait, you could really win this. And then she comes back, so now it's 8-8. I was like, wait a second, that was not the plan.
Oh, you lost 5 straight points. Okay.
I did. So it's 8-8, and something just turned on, and I was like, you don't have time for another loss. Like, get it together and just pull this out. And then I ended up beating her 15-14. And in fencing, you scream. I'm not a big screamer, but at the end, I was just screaming my head off. And for me, that was really amazing that I could take all this negative energy I was feeling and kind of just throw it away for a second to overcome something and to win a big title like that.
That's awesome. That's a really amazing story. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
What was it like on that plane ride home? What was it like on that first day of med school, or not med school, but the first day coming back, knowing that you're a national champion? Like, first of all, did your classmates know?
No, I really don't talk about myself too often. So for me, in fencing, you have to have.
Because I would be coming to school doing the Millie Rock, yo, I just
you guys know.
with my sword in hand.
No, I'm just not a big bragger, but that is something that I do want to change, especially being in a field like orthopedic surgery. You do have to, not that you have to be arrogant, but you can't be afraid to tell people about yourself when necessary. But in fencing, it's really people announce you by your title, So until then, I've been, oh, this is Kamali, she fences at Temple. Oh, this is Kamali, she travels to World Cup. But now when I go places, this is Kamali, she's the national champion.
Right.
This is amazing.
This is dope.
Yes. It's amazing.
So look, there's a lot of people who are listening to the show. They don't know probably half of the lingo that we're talking about, particularly with fencing. So let's do a quick tutorial, right?
Yeah, they probably don't. You're right.
Right. So you said you were doing Saber, right? So take us through, there's 3 different classes of the swords that you can use, right?
Yeah. So there's Saber, epee, and foil.
Okay. So Saber.
Saber is the one that's in Pirates of the Caribbean, where they're always slashing and blocking each other.
Okay.
The target's from the waist up, and you can hit them with any part of the saber. So you don't have to poke them. You can just hit them with any part.
Okay.
If you ever see it on TV, it's you're wearing a gray jacket. So that's the metal and it's conductive. You can also hit on the head. People love that. People love hitting on the head. Foil is the one in the parent trap. You can poke, and you wear a gray vest. So you can poke anything on the chest or the back. Epee is the whole body. Epee is pretty dope, actually. Epee is the whole body. You also have to poke, but you can hit anywhere. So people go for people's toes. People go for the head. You can hit the hand if you want. It's pretty amazing.
So why did you decide Saber?
I didn't. My coach did. She was like, you're pretty fast. You should go on Saber. Saber is very quick. It just happens. Saber
is the heaviest sword too, right?
No, I think epee is. Saber is pretty light. Foil is the lightest one. Saber is... I think epee is the heaviest.
Okay. All right.
I think so.
Awesome. So what do you think is harder? Because I know when I went to high school, the fencing team used to always have these golf balls that would hang from the ceiling. It'd be hanging by a string. And their job literally is to take this tip of their swords and just touch the golf ball while it's moving. That's really tough.
That is
So there's a lot of dexterity. There's a lot of endurance with fencing. Compare and contrast that with, the amount of studying, the veracity of stuff that you got to learn in medical school, or even just like doing a 2-hand knot? Like, what's harder? What do you think?
Those ties are difficult. I would have to say fencing, because in fencing you can learn everything and you can do it correctly, but you have to do it against someone in a bout. And then the more difficult part is the person you're fencing keeps changing, right? So I could fence this girl who's just as fast as me, and I can keep up with her and I can beat her no problem. And then the next bout, I fence someone who's really, really slow. And I got to figure out how to make the same actions work with her speed. And then the next person I fence could be 7 feet tall. And I got to figure out how to make my actions work with that. Like, it's just constant changing, and you have to adapt to the person you're fencing. And I think that's extremely difficult. Studying, on the other hand, is obviously really difficult. But it's kind of like once you know the answer, you know the answer. Maybe they change the scenario here and there, but I think it's harder to get the information, but once you have it, it's easier to apply it.
Love it. All right, so look, I know that you're, even on your website, the name of your blog is called Saber A Stethoscope. I love the name. And you're shooting for 2020, but real talk, 2020, you're going to be a second-year orthopedic surgery residency. I'm speaking it out. I'm speaking the positive out. You're going to be an orthopedic surgeon. You're going to be in your second year of residency. Like, how do you plan on managing that? Because that's a lot harder to get time off for. So talk to me about that.
Question.
Yeah.
So the answer is I'm not going to residency right now. So, yeah.
Okay, pray tell. Let's hear this.
So my school has a option where you can do something called flexing a year. And what that means is you have to take a certain amount of credits to be a full-time student, but you can take 1 year to 2 years. So what I'm doing is I'm flexing my 4th year. So I'm doing research the majority of the time, and then I'm doing some rotations here or there, but I'm not going to graduate until May 2020.
Smart. I love it. Thank you for dropping that. There's a lot of medical students right now who don't even know they can do that. So that's a really, really awesome thing. Love it. Can you say, what's the name of that again?
It's called flexing.
Okay. All right.
And a lot of schools are starting to get it because a lot of people, and not just people who want to train for the Olympics, but a lot of people want to do research, but don't necessarily want to take off a whole year because you lose the clinical skills if you don't keep doing rotations. So they offer this flexing program.
I love it. So we're going to probably put that in the show notes, definitely. The last thing I want to ask you is about this J-Swiss video that I love. It's on your website.
Yes.
I mean, obviously you're a superstar, but this video is dope. I love it. Tell us about how you got into the video. Tell us about what it's like to be on YouTube.
Definitely. So J-Swiss is actually my cousin.
Okay.
Our moms are best friends, and he started rapping in high school. We grew up together pretty much. He started rapping in high school, and he went to UNC. So when we were in college, we kind of fell out of touch, but I knew he was rapping, and I heard some of his songs, and I thought he was great. He hit me up, and he's like, hey, listen, I want to do this video. And I heard the song, and I was like, oh, this song is really, really awesome. But I was really nervous because I've done photo shoots. I've never done a music video before.
Right.
He said he wanted one other person, so he asked me and my brother to do it. And we got there, and it was just so cool, just being around family. And we just fenced in some random place in Brooklyn with a brick wall, and we just
in a park.
Yeah, basically. I love the song. I love the message, and I love that he reached out to us because he thought we would be good fits for the people in the music video. Yeah, that video is dope. I love it. The beat is knocking. It's a great hook. I'm going to actually reach out to him and see if I can get some of that music on my show because it's really good. Really good. Yeah, I love his music. It's really good.
Well, look, Dr. Kamali, look, we're getting towards the end of the interview, and we got some quick, fast questions that I want to ask you. You game?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, what's the biggest takeaway that we can get from you from this interview?
We're both med students, and I'm not a resident yet, but I'm positive that I'm going to keep this mentality in residency is don't let medicine consume you. Have a hobby, have something that you love to do, because when you get to medical school, people will try to tell you can't do anything besides stick. That's how you get unhappy. That's how you gain weight. Like, you got to see your friends, family, and you have to have something you enjoy doing on the side. Love it. That's what I'm talking about. So look, I'm assuming you got a car. I do. Okay, so if I was to jump into the car with you, what's going to be on your playlist? Is it going to be a podcast? Is it going to be music? Tell us about that. So I just got into podcasts. My new thing is Amanda Seales' podcast. I love her. I just love Smart, Funny, and Black. I'm like, that's me. I love it.
Okay. That's the name of the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
The name is called Small Doses.
Small Doses? Okay, cool.
Yes.
We'll leave a link.
Is Smart, Funny, and Black.
Okay, awesome. What about music?
Drake, obviously. Who doesn't love Drake? I love Drake.
I'm not a millennial, so I'm I'm kind of like get off my lawn with Drake right now. But he's good. He's good. I'm joking. He's good.
Yeah, I'm a huge Drake fan.
So what's your favorite food? What do you like to eat?
Sushi.
Really?
Eat all day, every day.
Okay.
I had it in Japan, and I was like, I'm never leaving this place.
I can imagine. Yeah. Okay, so who is someone that you find inspiration from? And this can be anybody from within your sporting world, within the medicine world, or just someone who's just, not in either of those worlds.
My biggest inspiration comes from one of my college coaches. Her name is Nikki Frank. She went to the Olympics twice. She's from Brooklyn. She's kind of the same as me, where she started fencing late, but she ended up qualifying for her first Olympics when she was getting her master's degree. And she's just such an amazing person. I mean, she has the respect of everyone in the fencing world. And she's just such a great athlete. So that's my motivation.
Love it. That's a great answer. Great answer. What's your advice to pre-med students out there?
My biggest advice is you need to diversify yourself. One of the reasons I think I got into med school is because I'm a fencer. So everyone has a good MCAT score. Everyone has a good GPA. Everyone has done research in a biolab. Everyone's been a tutor. Like, how can you be different? Like, what's something that's going to separate you across 10,000 people that are applying? Figure that out.
Love it. So I want you to finish this sentence. I'm not just a doc, I'm
a boss.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. You are a boss. It's been great to just listen to your story, read your blog, and follow your story. I got to give you props. I mean, it just seems as though nothing really scares you, but also at the same time, you come off really humble. And I just love the fact that also not only are you able to accomplish all these things, you really feel like, it's important to go back and reach one and teach one. So, Kamali Thompson, I just wanted to acknowledge you for that. You got a lot of stuff on your plate, and to be able to handle all of that stuff, you really are the epitome of a doc outside the box, the epitome of a boss. So kudos to you. I wish you all the best. And thank you very much for being on Docs Outside the Box.
Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap. Episode 72 is officially over. Hey guys, once again, thanks for listening to this episode. I really enjoyed this episode with Student Doctor Kamali Thompson. Also got to thank her for coming on the show. I know she's really busy handling all of those things. And we all wish her great luck in her pursuit of making the Olympic team in fencing. If you all want to learn more about Student Doctor Thompson, please make sure you follow her website at KamaliThompson.com, and then follow her either on Twitter or on Instagram. On Twitter, her username is at Kamali_Thompson. On Instagram, it's dr.mali, M-A-L-I, .M as in Mary, A-L-Z. You can also check the show notes for all of these links. Hey guys, I'm going to catch you all on the next episode. But before I jet, remember one thing. We only got one life. Let's make it count and live outside the box. Peace.